Welcome back to the Big Dan's Airguns review channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the seriously eye-catching Cometa Orion Gold. But the question is it any good? Let's crack on and find out. First things first, and we need to look at features. As always, we start off at the rear of the rifle, and of course we find a rubber recoil pad. Moving down a touch, we also find a sling swivel. I always like it when these come as standard, as it saves you having to drill into your stock. As we get to the cheek piece, I'm also glad to report that it's lefty friendly. Bravo, Cometa! Coming up a tad, we also see the adjustable comb, which is always a fantastic addition. Further down, we have a rather lovely bit of checkering on the go, because despite the dark colour, it is in fact a wooden stock. As we move slightly further along, we also have an eye-catching curved golden trigger blade, which is also adjustable for length of pull. In front of this, we also have the manual safety, which we'll talk about when we get to the handling section. As we come up, you can see that the rifle has a good old-fashioned bolt action, which has been coloured black to match the stock. Further forwards, we have the somewhat snazzy golden block, atop of which you'll find the dovetail rail. Further forwards is also the magazine or single shot tray latching bar. As we flip the rifle, you can also see some more tasty checkering, with the Cometa logo at the base of the grip and also underneath the forestock. As we come up, we get to the juicy stuff, however, as the Orion Gold isn't all frilly dress and no knickers. Inside the cylinder is a Robert Lane regulator as standard, which will hopefully give us some impressive consistency on the chrono. Further up, we get even better news, and that is of course that the Orion Gold comes with Cometa's own cold hammer forged barrel. As we come further down, we also have a gold metal barrel band and another sling stud that can also be used to mount a bipod. Finally, we get to the business end, where not only will you find a silencer, but also half-inch UNF thread to fit your own silencer if needs be. We can't have everything, however. Sadly, the pressure gauge is underneath the barrel. To go with all of this, however, the absolute icing on the cake is the fact that the Orion Gold also comes with a lifetime warranty. Doesn't get much better than that. All in all, it's a very well-spec'd rifle, especially for a sub 800 pound gun. But before we go any further, let's take a look at those mags. Okay, so loading the mag, how tricky or easy is this? It's a little finicky, truth be told. Very similar to some other mags out there. So simply spin the rotor the whole way round, spin it the right way down. I'm used to loading other mags, sadly, not these. So spin it the whole way around like so, then turn the mag upside down, and then you're going to want to load your first pellet, pardon the French, but arse backwards essentially. So skirt first, straight in like so. That was lucky, usually I fluff it when I'm staring through a camera lens. And with that done, you simply load the rest straight through the top. Essentially, the rotor is being locked under tension by that first pellet that you loaded. So then after that, you just load them straight through. So, with that done, let's move on to handling. Okay, so handling. What do we think of the Cometa Orion Gold? Two things I'm just going to get out of the way first. Number one, apologies for the no doubt very poor sound you're hearing right now. It is windy and it's also kind of spitting with rain to go with it. Number two, I do currently also have a throat infection, so nothing contagious to anyone who may want to come and see me. As long as I don't give you a kiss, sorry, that's off the menu now, you should be absolutely fine. But back to the rifle, shall we? It's a funny one. Just looking at it, it's an odd one. Don't get me wrong, Cometa make the Orion in a standard finish with a beach stock and such like that as well. And I will tell you the truth, when I first saw the pictures of these, before I even stocked the Cometas, I thought to myself, ugh, I don't like that synthetic stock with that gold finish on there. But, as we may have mentioned before, it's not synthetic, it is a wood finish. And I'll tell you something else as well. It's got some of the deepest checkering that I think I've seen on a modern gun. For instance, you can see there, I wasn't exactly gripping and ripping the gun. And if you can make that out, you might not be able to, you can see the pattern of the checkering in my fat fingers already. In fact, what about the forestock? There you go, look at the palm. That is fantastic. Another thing I really like about this, I love the finish there, the Cometa logo and the logo underneath the grip there as well. Stuff like that, attention to detail stuff, is stuff I really like because it shows that they put the effort in. And again, bear in mind, this isn't a super expensive gun either. It's definitely up there for a budget gun at around, well, sub £800 we'll say. I think we've got this around £720, £700 mark. But considering that, what you get, I think it's great, to be honest. It's eye-catching, I'll put it that way. And in a land of red and blue and pink laminates all over the place, I'd rather have that done than a big fancy laminate stock. And that's probably just me, I'm sure. But anyways, back to what you're actually here to look at, and that is handling. So first things first, how do you load the mag? Well, the mag is an interesting one. Same as the Lynx and the other Orions, you've got a set of jaws on your mag if you see that. And what you want to do is pull your bolt back, like so. I will say that was very smooth. A little bit of weight in it, but very smooth. Pop your mag in the breech, and then if you see those jaws wrap around that bar in the breech there, so give it just a little bit of a push, and you're in. Simple as. After that, close your bolt, and you're on your way. A little bit of a notch at the end if you saw that there, but again, brand new gun, it might just be something that needs to smoothen out or polish out with use. So then with that, pop the safety off, let's have a go at the trigger. So that's off, taking aim at the mound. Holy cow, that's light. Okay, so if you're worried it's going to have a long creepy pull, don't. It's got an ultralight, almost negative pull, if that makes sense. There is nothing there. Let me give that another go. There was no notch there. See that? It's already starting to polish in. Let's take aim, top of the mound. That is super duper light. Now, I will say it's more of a single stage than a two stage. And on top of this, the trigger adjustment is mainly for length of pull. It's not really for pull weight or anything like that. I might be tempted to put a little bit more pull into it, so as it's got a little margin for error. At the minute it is almost an on and off trigger sort of thing. But what I will say for the target guys and such out there, or the people wanting to get into bench rest and want something that's a little bit fancier looking, shall we say, I think this could definitely be, it's something to look at. The other thing I'm going to say as well is the silencer is actually really quite good. So let's, we didn't cock it, did we? No. So let's put another one in there. No notch there neither. Did you see that? It was just straight in. Right, so let me shut up and just have a listen. Most of the noise from where I'm sitting is from the action. There's a little bit of hammer bounce. There's a blip when you pull the trigger. But let's have a listen again. Hear that? From the front end, there's very little coming out. So again, well done, Cometa. That is actually quite a nice bit of kit you got on the end there. I will say, as we may have mentioned, it is 1/2 inch UNF. I'm getting soaked now as well, so this could be the last ever episode of Big Dan's Airguns. Yeah, but you've got 1/2 inch UNF on the end there, so you can put your own silencer on as well. Handling-wise, in general, I really, really like it. It comes up, again, like an S410, which I think for a sport gun is pretty much the Rolls Royce, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Perfect weight, perfect feel, balance. Dare I say it, the checkering on this might actually be even deeper than what you get on an S410, but shh, don't say that too loud. Don't let the Air Arms fan club hear you. But that is a lovely feeling gun. Like I say, there you go, no click there as well if you saw that. So the bolt is already running in. I'm starting to like that trigger as well. I'm a bit of a weirdo that likes a single stage. I like that. I mean, the looks are probably subjective, but again, they make a standard Orion if you're not a fan of this. But I'm beginning to be a humongous fan, I think, of the Orion Gold, which I didn't expect by looking at it. But what I will say is it's obviously meaningless. We need to put some pellets through the chronograph and see what the gun's doing. So with that out of the way, let's whip out the chronograph and see what you get. And with that out of the way, it's time to move on to accuracy testing. So first things first, before we get started, we have to do our range finding session. As you can see here, the target is set up at 25 yards and we will be shooting off of a rest. Okay, so that's 25 yards accuracy testing out the way and done with, and how did we get on? Well, our best groups came from the JSB Express and H&N FTT pellets. Both ended up with really quite nice solid clusters, especially considering the outdoorsy conditions today. The rest of the pellets did give us a bit of a spread, but again, maybe take it with a pinch of salt considering, as mentioned, the weather conditions weren't exactly perfect. That being said, let's take our two best pellets now and move on to our 50-yard target and see how we get on shooting there. So, sub 12 air guns, 50 yards, and in outdoorsy conditions. What's the worst that could happen? So, final verdict, and what do we think of the Orion Gold? Honestly, this is a tricky one for me to give a verdict on. As you'll know by now, I'm very old school when it comes to my taste in rifles. That said, aesthetically, I really do love the attention to detail on this rifle, and I appreciate the direction Cometa has gone here in regards to making it a tartier rifle, shall we say. With the Gold, it isn't just a laminate stock and then call it a day, but instead you get a totally different darkened stock genuinely beautiful checkering emblazoned with the Cometa logo, and of course, a little bit of gold here and there. They even went as far as tinting the bolt. So if you're into rifles that are genuinely a bit different, you won't get much more unique than this. That said, the rifle is pretty, but it's a load of cobblers if at the end of the day it's still not worth your time nor money. Thankfully, the Orion is a very capable platform, although it does have a couple of areas that could do with improvement. As we say, no rifle is perfect. For starters, the trigger will not be to everyone's tastes. It's more of a single stage than a true two-stage, and although I actually like the unit, I'm sure some may not. That said, it's a perfectly light and crisp unit, and fans of single-stage triggers will find a lot to like here. The other nitpick is that the shot count leaves a bit to be desired, and is no doubt affected by the hammer bounce. However, I've since contacted Cometa about this, and they're going to be looking into it in the near future. So now for the important stuff. Accuracy. As you can tell, we're shooting in outdoor conditions and not in the controlled confines of an indoor range, and yet at 50 yards we managed a 4-shot cluster of only 0.52 of an inch, with one shot going low, which was no doubt down to me. Now that's seriously impressive, and goes to show that the Cometa barrel is still working its magic, like on the spring guns. Also bear in mind that this is a brand new rifle and not leaded in yet. Once run in, this thing will be a David amongst the premium brand Goliaths downrange. As mentioned earlier, this is a really odd one for me to judge, as knowing my tastes, I shouldn't like this gun. But the more I look at it, the more I think, that's actually quite smart. Am I going mad? Is this what turning into a gun tart feels like? I think I need to do a Springer next time, friends, as all these PCPs I think are starting to get to me. But for me, I think it's the first proper stand-out, look-at-me type rifle that I genuinely like, and thankfully it performs brilliantly downrange to back up the looks. But enough of what I think. What do you think? Is it tasteful or too tarty? I look forward to reading your comments below. And with that said, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.